The cabin lights dimmed just as the boarding door was about to close, yet no one on that flight from Washington to Manchester knew they were seconds away from witnessing a moment that would melt hearts across the country. It began with one simple gesture, one that few people expected, and even fewer would ever forget. Senator John Kennedy, known for his sharp wit and political firepower, had been assigned a quiet, comfortable first-class seat after a long week on Capitol Hill. He had barely settled in when he noticed Karoline Leavitt, a young, energetic, and exhausted, hurrying down the aisle, clutching a stack of briefing folders so thick they seemed impossible to manage. Her face carried the unmistakable weight of responsibility mixed with the determination of someone who doesn't know how to quit. She was flying coach, and she looked like she had barely slept. Kennedy didn't hesitate. He stood up, walked down the aisle toward her, and said with that unmistakable Louisiana warmth, "Karoline, you're working harder than half this plane combined. Take my seat, I insist." Passengers nearby turned their heads, a few gasped. It wasn't every day you saw a sitting senator give up first class, and for a young rising figure in politics no less. Leavitt's eyes widened. "Senator, a broken bar, I can't take your seat. You've been traveling non-stop." Kennedy smiled. "Darling, sometimes the right thing is the thing that takes zero effort." She reluctantly accepted, stunned and grateful. Kennedy made his way to the middle seat in the back of the plane, squeezed between a nervous first-time flyer and a tired construction worker. Instead of complaining, he chatted with both, calming the anxious passenger and cracking jokes that had half the aisle laughing. But the unbelievable part of the moment that later went viral came an hour into the flight. As the plane encountered unexpected turbulence, the lights flickered, and Karoline stood up instinctively, worried about Kennedy being squashed in the back. Before she could take a step, the flight attendant approached her. "Miss Leavitt," she whispered, leaning in, "I think you'll want to see this." They walked quietly toward the rear cabin. There sat John Kennedy, his sleeves rolled up, his laptop open, helping the construction worker fill out paperwork for a state program he didn't know he qualified for. On his other side, he was comforting the nervous passenger, guiding her through breathing exercises, telling the funniest stories from his early years in Louisiana, easing her fear with each punchline. But the most touching moment, the entire back row of three complete strangers had begun sharing their struggles, their worries, their hopes. Kennedy wasn't just listening, he was encouraging, motivating, lifting their spirits as if it were the easiest thing in the world. Karoline stood watching silently, tears gathering in her eyes. In that crowded cabin, with turbulence shaking the walls, she saw the truest version of leadership, and not the televised kind, not the scripted speeches, not the polished sound bites, the real thing, the human thing, the kind that makes people breathe easier and walk taller. When the plane landed, passengers from the back row lined up, and not for autographs, but to thank him. "You made me feel seen. I can't remember the last time someone listened like that. You didn't have to give up your seat, a broken bar, but I'm glad you did." Karoline walked up to him, touched his arm, and said quietly, "Senator, you didn't just help them. You reminded me why I do this work." Kennedy, with his classic half-smile, replied, "Karoline, seats don't matter, people do." By the time they reached the terminal, someone had already posted a photo of the senator crammed into that middle seat, laptop open, leaning over to help strangers. Within hours, it spread across social media like wildfire, not because it was dramatic, not because it was political, but because it was human. A simple act of kindness, a broken bar followed by something far greater. In a world obsessed with headlines, conflicts, and division, one moment on a plane reminded millions that real leadership is measured not by power, but by presence, not by status, but by service. And above all, by the willingness to give up a comfortable seat so someone else can rise a little higher. A reminder that even the smallest gesture, done with sincerity, can change the course of someone's day. A broken bar, or, as this story proved, inspire an entire nation.